So it's crazy to me that you can find videos for just about anything and everything, but I couldn't find one on how to install these ditch lights from Baja Designs. These are XL Sports on a 5th gen Ram 2500. So I've got a 2020 6.7 Cummins that I'm going to put some A-pillar lights on, and plan on having this truck for a long time, and so wanted some quality stuff, and this is what I settled on. But kind of interesting. Let me catch you up to where I'm at. So I really like these because they just use these really small brackets. A lot of them you have to mess with hood hinge bolts and your hood shifts, and it's just bad news. So I like these a lot because these just go underneath the windshield cowl, I believe it's called. And part of what I wanted to show you guys is how to take this thing off of here, because that's really the first step. Well, first step is they want $80 for powder coated black brackets, and so I just went ahead and painted these myself. Just get you some good aluminum primer and some decent paint, and you'll be in good shape. Save yourself some money. But beyond that, put these brackets on. First thing you do is have to pull the cowling clips, which are metal and plastic, and so I just use a little pry tool like this to get underneath this first one here. You can kind of see the clip is right sitting in that little bracket there, and then from there you kind of start the domino effect. There's a second one there, second one down in there, third one there, and then this just fits underneath there, so you can just pull that out of there. And what you're removing is that little bolt. I'm going to clean all that up, but you're pulling that little bolt out, and that's where the bracket's going to go. Some little rubber padding and that sort of stuff. So I'll do all that and then see you in a minute. All right, so we've got this all cleaned up, and what you're going to use is 10mm socket with an extension on it. Pull that bolt out. Just follow the instructions, super straightforward. You're gonna take these little rubber pads, they're varying thicknesses. Thick ones go underneath the brackets, and then the thin ones go on the truck. It shows you where on the little dotted line. Knock all that out, see you in a minute. All right, so I played around with a couple of different configurations of the little rubber padding stuff and figured out this is the best one here. It just rides around the, I don't know if you can see that internal lip there. Otherwise, this bracket doesn't sit far enough forward where it sits flat. And then you still have to trim the flange on this cowl cover just a little bit to get it to sit just right. Otherwise, it's not gonna pop back into place. So I'm gonna do all that, do the other side, and so I ended up having to use a little Dremel tool to notch out a little spot in the little cowl deal here. Otherwise it wouldn't sit flush. So they don't tell you that you need to do that in the instructions, but I had to anyway, and I had that bracket sitting as far over as I could. So anyway, looks good now, and we'll get started on the next piece here. All right, first side took a lot longer than I thought it would, but second side went super quick. I did this in like 5 minutes, honestly, even with the trimming of the cowl, but I think it looks a lot better and sits a lot cleaner in there. Looks a lot nicer to notch that out a little bit. So anyway, next up is to assemble the headlights in the brackets, and they give you this little 1/4 inch by 20 coarse thread, I think, by 1/2 inch hardware. That's just a regular, bolt. So I ordered some Torx security heads for these that'll come in, and we'll swap those out whenever I get them in, just to make it a little bit tougher to get these off of here. So ditch lights are on, and I've run the wiring underneath this little wiper cowl right into the engine bay, so there's no pinch points or anything. I've heard these covers fall off, but I just went on a test drive, and it seems like it stays on there pretty well. And then what's nice with these is so it's got 2 spots and then 2 floods, so spotlight, floodlight. You can actually change this whole lens out and go amber, all spot, all flood, you know, a lot of different options. Pretty neat. So next step is going to be to run the wiring harness and the switch, which they have you run the switch. There's a splitter, and then the switch goes through the little inner fender, through a little grommet up in behind the cab. And then there's a spot where you can pull this little plate off. It's above the parking brake release right here. And that's where I'm gonna run my Baja design switch into this little panel here, leaving some room for future stuff, but I don't have the model that has the auxiliary switches, so I'm gonna go ahead and run this button right over here and be good to go. This is the harness that comes with the kit. On the site, it'll tell you if you want an upgraded harness to buy this other one. It's like a 640117 or something, but problem is that one only has 2 prongs. So I think it's for like the squadrons. It's not beefy enough for the XLs, so that one won't work. Luckily it comes with the right one you need, so I bought an extra harness that I don't know what I'm gonna do with, but anyway, cool. It comes with the relay. I need to figure out where I'm gonna mount that in the engine compartment. It has a fuse on it, battery terminals. They recommend you put it on this battery here, which easy enough. You can put the positive side on that little bolt there, and then negative, same sort of deal. Make it easy. I'm planning on running it up along underneath here and using that little hole there and that one there to zip tie it off. Should hold it up out of the way and look pretty clean. They recommend running the splitter with the junction over towards the driver's side. So I'm gonna knock all that out and then catch back up with you before I put the switch down in the inner fender here. That's how you're supposed to get that into the cab. There's a little spot back in there where you can fish that through and then go into this little grommet hole right here, make a hole in that, and then wire it through to this little panel here. So easy enough, and that's just got 4 clips in it. Pops right out with a pry tool. Just be careful. They recommend running the splitter junction over on the driver's side, so I have that started here. And then if you can see, I was able to kind of tuck the wire in underneath in that little channel underneath the cowl there, and then zip tie it off to that little deal, and it comes around and connects, and I've got that wrapped and taped off there just to kind of hold it out of the way so it doesn't get in the way of the hinge, but that should close, and I've tested out it does, so that one's good to go. Just need to do the same thing on this side, which you'll have plenty of slack. There's a bunch of slack here that we'll have to bundle up because it just needs to connect in right there. And then we'll run the harness, which a lot of this can all just get bundled up because it's all going to be right here by the battery. Kind of find a spot in here somewhere for it. Try and make it look clean, and then run the switch down through this hole here into the cab. After testing out a few different spots to find a good place for this relay, it looks like over here, just bent the bracket just a little bit to where I can mount it right here. Just on the inside of the battery, and then tuck everything down in there is going to be the best bet. Originally I thought over here would work, but the problem is there's not enough clearance in the fuse lid here to where if you mount that there, you're not going to get this up. And if you try and go over here somewhere, it's too far away. The terminal wires aren't long enough for that. So you got to find a spot over in this little corner over here to keep everything close to the battery, and it'll look pretty nice whenever I get everything all bundled up, and should look decent. Got the relay mounted, everything all bundled up here. Now we're using the old Fisher tool to get down in there, and you can actually see the foam. Where it'll come right through there, and then fish the wire into a little gasket, but you have to take these clips off to remove this to be able to get that through there. So if you just start on this end with the pry tool, there's like 4 or 5 little clips in there. And then when you get over to this side, just pull back towards you. If you'll see, and that little rubber gasket sits on the outside of that, but those clips are in there where you pull back towards you and it'll pop right out. And then you have access to what you need to get the switch wires run inside the cap. So everything's all bundled up and secured. Haven't connected that yet. Fished the wires through. We got this all put back together. And this wire ends up coming through that grommet in there and then pokes out underneath. You can route it up through this bit. And then for the switch, I end up using a step bit down to about 3/4 inch, but as soon as, just keep checking the fitting, and as soon as this harness plug will fit through there, you should be in pretty good shape. So like I said, about 3/4 inch, but go slow. You don't want that to be loose. And it's got little retention deals in there to hold it in place. So it should be good to go. Got everything buttoned up and the switch is wired. And sure enough, we have light. Awesome. Super cool. Nice and bright. Excited to get these things aimed just right and adjusted. But yeah, so this is the A-pillar ditch lights for the 19 and up Dodge Ram 2500 HD, and highly recommend it. Hopefully this video helps save y'all some time. But super happy with how these turned out. Excited to get some more Baja design stuff. I ordered the fog light kit, but those are on 8-week back order, so gotta wait. But overall, super happy with how these turned out. Like them a lot.